friends, it's Miracle saying hi from a Saturday. I want to kick off today a very special reading vlog because this is gonna be me attempting to join the Jane Austen July again. This is one of the to sum it up, I try to join Jane Austen July and also Victoria every year with different degrees of failures. This year I want to try again, and because I'm doing all these reading vlogs, it actually motivates me a lot to keep reading and read the books that I really wanted to read. So this year I thought I would take the chance of doing all the reading vlog and Jane Austen July to read the group book Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I have this beautiful penguin cloth bound edition of Northanger Abbey. I actually have the whole collection of Jane Austen in this edition, and it actually holds a very special, this edition, it actually holds a very special place to me because Pride and Prejudice is the first ever English books that I have read in full, in total. Not long ago before I started booktube, because it was at that time when I lived in the States for a couple of years and I was like, I want to read. And before that time, the most of my reading was done in Chinese, but you guys already know that I had a hard time acquiring Chinese books in the States at the time. So I was like, I need to dive into the world of English books, and where is the best way to start? I can reread all the classics that I have read when I was little. So I somehow decided on Pride and Prejudice. It is both the best book and also the worst book to start reading in your second language because it was hard. I had to stop and check up words every so often. Each pages I have different words that I don't know. I have to check, so it kind of interrupted my flow. But at the same time, the language of that book, the tone of that book was so humorous and so delightful, which I really enjoyed the story. So Jane Austen, for all of the reasons, she was one of my favorite classic writers growing up, and she's also one of my mom's favorite writers, and also she's the first writer that I've read in English in full length, although that I have read Pride and Prejudice when I was little before, but yeah. However, I've never read Northanger Abbey. You may think that I've read a lot of her books, but this is one of her books that I haven't read. And I also know that this is Jane Austen's first completed novel. However, it was published after a while. And Katie from Books and Things and all the other amazing hosts, which I will link down below, they have a schedule for this group reads. However, I have a lot of things planned in July, including a trip that is coming up in the second part of July and a lot of other bigger reading projects. So I'm gonna kickstart my own Jane Austen July in June. We are a week to July, so I will start reading today, and I adjust their schedule to this little piece of paper that I have my own schedule. I'm still following the 10-day structure of the group reads. However, I'll just read every day a week prior. And I will take you guys along with me to this incredible journey. And I also ordered the selected letters of Jane Austen, which will come to me next week. However, I don't think I'll have time to read it this year in July, but maybe sometime later. Now I'm gonna head to reading and talk to you guys later. Sometimes things are just not going to go as planned. Remember the little schedule that I made myself? Well, that didn't happen at all because I was severely distracted by another book that I was reading, which is 1,400 pages long. If you didn't know, I was actually talking about this on my Instagram that I am reading Les Mis, which I wanted to go to see the musical, which is next Friday, and I want to finish the book before next Friday, which the book consumed every minute of my spare time, so I didn't even get to start Northanger Abbey before July. But luckily today is a Sunday and I have an entire day which I don't have anything planned, and I think my reading progress for Les Mis is on track somehow. Like I'm still behind on my schedule for that book. I think I'm in a comfortable place where I can dedicate another day to read another book. So I started reading Northanger Abbey today and I'm already at chapter 9, page 67, but the book started at page 20 something. As a classic usually do, the first like 20 something pages are the introduction, which I skipped because I don't want to be spoiled. And I feel like I'm too low on this. Okay, here you are. So, and I'm quite enjoying it, and I am now at a point where I feel so sad about the protagonist because Catherine, she was a very nice girl and she didn't know a lot of things in her age. She's like 15 at the time, and I feel like she just didn't see a lot of things, and now she's in a weird friendship and love interest thingy that I feel like the friendship is manipulative and also the love interest, he is just stupid. So I am nervous for her, and I feel like she was able to see that. She was just like not comfortable on expressing that, and I just feel like the friendship aspect, I am so uncomfortable reading about the friendship now. I don't know where this book is gonna go because I was able to avoid all the spoilers. This friendship, I feel like her friend is constantly trying to gaslighting her, which make me really unease. But at the same time, I feel like Jane Austen, she also knows the nature of this friendship, and she commented on it from time to time, and she is as humorous as I remembered. I even laughed out loud at some time when she's making the commentary, which I feel like that was really enjoyable moment as a reader because you feel like your feelings are echoed with the feeling of the author. And there's another scene where like a guy was explaining something to Catherine, and he was just mansplaining to Letty, which is hilarious if you think about it now. And at that time, there's no such words as mansplaining, but Jane Austen was able to describe it so vividly, and I just want to punch the guy for like lack of like a better action or emotional word. Yeah, so far I just want to say that I finally started to read it, and I am behind my own schedule. I actually feel like I am able to finish this book today, which is really a great improvement for me because I remember when I was reading Pride and Prejudice, it took me forever to read. I feel like I read less than 20 pages in an hour at that time, and I have to look up words on every page, and this book, I didn't even need to look up anything because there's no words where I feel like I need to look it up in order to understand its meaning. For sure, there are words where I don't really quite sure of the meaning, but I can sense the vibe within the context, so I don't need to look it up. And now I am at chapter 10, and today is a Sunday. As I said, I am gonna pause my reading for a little bit and run a little bit of errands. I want to go to the library to return some books and go grocery shopping, and probably go to the bookstore to hunt for a copy for the Last Night at the Telegraph Club, which is a book that I loved, that I borrowed from the library last month, but I want to have my own copy. The thing is, I really love the cover of that book. However, there are like so many stickers of awards on that book already, like on every cover. I wanted to go to a bookshop near me to see if I can find a book cover without those stickers. Otherwise, I can only have like a book with all the stickers, which makes me sad because I really want the cover. Maybe I can buy the book from the library. I don't think so. Anyhow, so I'll take you guys to the library and the bookshop, and see you guys later. Guys, so I am reading, and something just happened in the book. I'm at page 84, and I am so mad. Like the very man who was mansplaining earlier in the book, now he just did something horrible to my understanding, and I want to punch him even more. I'm so mad. Oh, guys, this is a couple of pages later, and that dude just did something that enraged me. Like, how could he do such a thing? And the people around him, they're like ridiculous people. And I really feel for Catherine at this point. Like, I feel like all their education, like all the politeness of hers, like prevent her to, do something severe, like something that I would do, for example, punch him. But it was so mad, like I cannot stand that person. I hope he will get out of the picture soon enough, but I have this bad feeling that he's like the one of the main conflict in the book, so he'll still stay here. But I am so mad. I'm so mad. Hi friends, I have finished volume 1 of this book, and I thought I would just do a proper check-in without being too overly emotional while I was reading this book. Well, I was actually greatly satisfied after I talked to you guys about the 2 outbursts of my rage. I feel like the end of volume 1 is somehow soothing, and but I also know that we have like an entire volume after that, so maybe there's some conflicts and dramatic things after that I don't foresee just yet, but yeah, I do like the first volume. I feel like I'm happy for the Catherine's growth over the volume already, and I forgot to point out at the first page of this book, I feel like the satire and also the wisdom of Jane Austen, and also her observation of the society she lives in is really accurate, and I do really feel like she has this like deeply compassion for the people who live at the time. And she mentioned on the first page, so it's not a spoiler, it's like for Catherine's mom, instead of dying and bringing the letter into the world like the last of her children, as anybody might expect, she still lived to have 6 children more, to see them growing up around her and to enjoy excellent health herself. So I just feel like by this sentence alone that Jane Austen was acknowledging like the hardness of women's life at that time, because a lot of women apparently die when giving birth to children and things like that. So I feel like I really love like her commentary throughout the whole book, either it's about the society or about the characters. And now I have finished volume 1, so I actually logged on Goodreads because it is already July the 2nd. So I actually logged on Goodreads to see what everybody is talking about this book, because this read-along actually started yesterday, July the 1st. It's also Canada Day yesterday. And surprisingly, I see people are talking about this is a very hard book to read, which is completely opposite from my experience. I was just talking to you guys about how happy that I was to read this book so fast and so smooth. So that's where I feel like everybody has their own experience reading this book. For me, this book was a page turner, and now I don't think I have a language barrier reading Jane Austen's book. So I was just so happy. And now it's about 6 o'clock in the evening. I have about 100 pages left in this book, and I am so sure that I can finish this book tonight. And I'm just now overjoyed by how great this reading experience is for me. I will continue reading and check in with you guys later. Hi friends, I have 60 pages left of the novel, and it is almost 8 o'clock, so I thought I would just start dinner. Today we are making a 1-pot vegetarian pasta, mushroom pasta, which the only non-vegan ingredient will be cheese, and I think that's counted as vegetarian. Anyhow, so I have some thoughts about the book. First of all, so far the book, I was curious about why people are labeling the book as gothic. I didn't feel gothic at all. But we have just came to a scene where I feel like the atmosphere, environment like suddenly became gruesome, which I found particularly interesting, because I think maybe Gothic was a big theme at the time, where like a lot of people, it's like a big theme of literature at the time. But in this particular story, I almost view it as a coming of age story, although it just like happened within weeks for Catherine. But I just feel like she grew up so much already in this book, and now she is like somehow unafraid of speaking up for her mind and standing up for herself and the people that she cares about. So it's really curious to me like how and why Jane Austen decided to add some of the Gothic theme to the story, but I also feel like that's a big, it's just like in general a big theme at the time. And also one very interesting thing at the beginning of the book that I forgot to mention is that some of the characters started to, like there are multiple conversations of the character started to have a debate of the worth of literature. It actually reminded me a conversation that I had with one of my friends before, because you know, for us, for bookworms, like novels, literature, they all have their like severe values in the world. It's all part of very important format of art. So it's very interesting for that conversation to take place in the book, and I just feel like it's a very strong debate and defense of literature of Jane Austen, which I feel like it's really delightful to read. And currently, although I am already like half into the volume 2 of the book, I feel like the story was not as fast as the first volume, especially maybe it's because now the story is not mainly about Catherine, it's about some side characters which I don't like and I don't really care about, but I sense that something big is coming up, especially you know the atmosphere started to get gruesome, so I'm really excited to dive into the book after dinner. However, I am severely slowing myself down by talking, so let's just make the pasta together. I'm crying so hard cutting all the shallots. Adding some oil to the pan, shallots and the onion and the pepper. Deglaze the pan a little bit. Adding a bunch of mushrooms. 1 can of coconut milk, a quarter cup of sun-dried tomatoes, and about 400 grams of pasta. And then bring it to a boil. Add in a whole bag of spinach. Here it is. Ta-da! At the last minute, I remember that I forgot soy sauce, so there's like no salt. So I added some soy sauce at the last minute. I'm not sure if it's gonna turn out well, but here's dinner. Hi friends, this is later at night and I have just finished reading Northanger Abbey and I'm so happy that I finished it. I essentially read this book in one day, which I did not expect. This is actually a revelation that I realized for myself, that I realized that I'm not very good at keeping a schedule of reading any books, but I do like to binge read. I can go some days without reading, but if I start a book and I want to finish it, I tend to read it in a shorter amount of settings, and this book is no exception. Especially this book is only a little more than 200 pages, so it's actually not long, and this is because the page is very thick, and they also have introductions and all the footnotes for classics. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. However, in the volume 2 of the story, I do feel like things are not as action driven, not as captivating as volume 1. I think there are multiple reasons for that. For one, first of all, a lot of the volume 2 as to describing the environment and the buildings. To be honest, in the book, the character was she was visiting some houses and she actually got quite bored in the end because the house was visiting a giant mansion is just so daunting, and a lot of the rooms she got a little bit tired, and at the same time I got really bored at that section. It's I know that in Jane Austen's time people tend to go to different houses to visit, they have open house if you have a castle or something, but then I don't want to read so much description of a house. Yeah, it was just too much. Like, I already understood that the house was gigantic and all of that, but I don't want to read like more pages about it. So I got quite bored and easily distracted at that part, and I feel like that's just one of the most important reasons why I feel like Volume 2 is not as compelling as Volume 1. And frankly, when you are describing houses, there are actually no actions in the book. And also the Gothic part, I still feel like it's a little bit unnecessary. And the second reason is because in the volume 2, actually our main character Catherine, she's not engaged with a lot of the actions in this book. Like, she actually witnessed a lot of things happen from afar, like a lot of the details that she didn't know, she didn't experience, and this book didn't follow other aspect. It was like a third person narrative, but like follow her aspect. So I feel like the experience was lost at some point because of that. However, they are still like twists and turns of events, and I'm still like following the event intensely. But speaking of the event, I feel like even though the beginning of the volume 2 is a little bit daunting, but toward the end of the volume 2, started to happen a little bit too quick. It's like a completely different vibe, and everything just like happened all of a sudden, and I was like, oh, but I want to read more about the details, but a lot of things were summarized in sentences, and Jane Austen, she teased you. She was like, oh, let's wondering for this or that, but then she doesn't actually go into details with a lot of the things. And yeah, so I feel like Volume 2's pacing is a little bit weird or awkward, and I know this is the first novel at first, and I feel like I can really tell that because the writing, like toward the end, is not as mature as like something like Pride and Prejudice, but I do still like the story a lot. In the Volume 1, I actually feel like this is a 5-star book, but the Volume 2 really kind of lowered my experience a little bit, so it lowered it down to 4-star just because of the weird pacing and also the unnecessary, like gruesome environment part. But overall, I enjoy this book a lot, and I just feel like the language, the writing is so smooth and beautiful. It's like so satisfying reading this book, and reading about Jane Austen's commentary for the characters is so, and also the characters that I did not like, I feel like they are called out by Jane Austen as well, and I feel like that is very great and brilliant of her. So yeah, overall I have finished this group read for Jane Austen July, although it is only the 2nd of July, but I am really happy that I finally finished one group book over the years for Jane Austen July, and I hope you all enjoy this Jane Austen July, and please let me know any of your thoughts about this book. Have you read Northanger Abbey? Have you read any of Jane Austen's other books? And what do you think about the book that now I shared my experience of it? And please don't forget to say hi in the comment section down below. Thumbs up to this video if you liked it. And I wish you happy reading. Stay healthy, stay safe. I'll see you in my next bookish video. Bye!